Good morning, guys. Welcome back to COVID Computer Camp. We're ready for a really exciting week here. We've got some coding, some image editing, and we're going to be making a game later in the week. For starters, though, we're going to finish off Chromie the robot. We've been working on him for a few days now, and we're really excited about getting him finished. We were just starting to teach him a few dance moves, so let's get started with that right away. Yeah, I've changed a few things around here. You guys at home are probably noticing that I've got some new looks and new visual effects going. I really thought that transition was really hard to see against Scratch, especially with white text, and so I changed the text to red, which will show up against pretty much anything like that. And my new visual look along the bottom. I'm really happy with it anyway, so I hope you guys like it as well. Okay, so I've done one little bit of coding. If you guys are at home trying to start off on this and you don't have a Chromie the Robot character, you can download from me. Just go to my website at chromeworks.ca and go to the Lessons tab, and you should find something called the working file, and that is the file that I'm working on right now that has all the code and stuff that I'm building as I'm building it here. So if you're a little bit lost and want to get started with my file, then just click on that file, load it up, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so the first thing that I did here that's a little different from the code that you guys saw last week was I've been warning you for a long time against the dangers of using this when left key pressed, when right arrow key pressed command for movement, right? I've done it here and I probably shouldn't have. And let me show you what's going on here. Now, remember, we don't have the actual movement happening in this script. It just broadcasts a message that tells other parts of the code to move. But when I tell it to move left, when it's inside this when left arrow key pressed event, you can see even if I hold the button down, it's sometimes a little bit clunky. You see that it takes a half a second or so to get moving. And that always happens. That delay is always there when you're invoking an event this way. So I've gone ahead and I've moved this code into a new block here that goes like this. When green flag clicked, start doing something forever. And then two if statements. One if statement says if left arrow key pressed, then broadcast a move left. And if right arrow key pressed, broadcast a move right. It does exactly the same as this kind of configuration. The only difference is, as I said, that it's a lot smoother. Everything just seems to move a lot more quickly with less delay doing it this way. So if you haven't already changed over your code to this method, let's do it. We're going to have to do a few other little changes to what we did last week as well, because I started thinking about how we were going to make this. See, this is just looking much more smooth. We've got a couple of animations built in here. We have a default animation that's triggered when I hit the number 0, and that moves his arm to a side. We also, on Friday, got done our first movement animation, which is this one when I hit the number 1 key here. And that moves his arms up and gives him a little snap of his fingers. So we can move back and forth with those keys. I don't want to get rid of those keys, but what I want to be able to do is program this guy's movement so that he does stuff when I want him to. So for example, I want to have him go from that 0 movement to the 1 movement, so raise his arms up and snap his fingers without having to actually type anything into the keyboard. I want it to happen automatically. Well, there's no way to do that the way the code is set up right now, because it's all set up with number keys. So when I press the number 0, it's going to do what I want it to do when I press the number 1. But how do I get that to happen automatically? So I'm going to have to attach all of these events and everything, all the new ones that we do, we're going to turn them into, instead of keyboard events, we're going to make them broadcast messages. We're going to make them messages that are sent to other parts of the program. And I'm going to transfer that over right now, and we'll show you how that works. Okay, so instead of when I press 0, I still want that button to work. I want this stuff to happen, but I'm going to go broadcast a message, and I'm going to call my message default pose. So when I hit the 0 key, it's still going to make him go to his default pose, because when I go to the top here and go when I receive, I'll call this default pose. And so now these two are working in unison. I can hit 0 to make him go back to his default pose, or I can program him to by broadcasting this message. Let's do one more of them. We'll just convert it over. So this next one is arms up, and that's what we'll call it. We'll go broadcast a new message, give it a new name. And we're going to call it arms up. Beautiful. Well, that screen looks so big and empty without all that other clutter there now. I think this is a much cleaner look, guys. I like it a lot better. Now we're going to take all the code off of number 1 and replace it with this broadcast. And that's just going to send a message right over here when I receive arms up. Now I've got this all set up, so it still works with the 1 key. There's 1, there's 0. But now I can program these to work together. So for example, I can say, when I press the green flag, broadcast a default pose, followed by an arms up, broadcast arms up, followed by a default pose again. And so now I can string them together with coding commands without having to hit anything on the keyboard. Let's try that out now. I'll maximize, click the green flag. See, he goes up, then goes back down to his default pose when he's done. No. What's going on here? There probably needs to be a pause between these different commands, I would imagine. It just doesn't have time to for them all to execute. Let's put a 1-second delay between them and see if that makes a difference. So green flag. Yeah, there we go. Now he's going through his commands. He needs enough time to actually execute them before you give him his next command. And that's something that you always have to do when you're coding your robot to move. Okay. Good. Now we don't need this yet, but in a little bit, once we get a few more moves in, we're going to actually start we're going to start some music going. We're going to try and see if we can coordinate some of these music movements to go with the music as well, which sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm just going to trash this for now. We've got our first couple of moves, so we just need a couple more interesting dance moves here, and we're going to start doing that right now. So let's go back to Chromie's character here. We'll go to his costumes. You can see that you might remember from Friday and Thursday that we removed his eyes and put them into their own sprite. His eyes and his mouth follow him along. And basically the face stays blank here so that we can animate the eyes and the mouth differently. Now we can make Chromie talk, for example, like when I hit the space key, remember he says, "I am a robot." And he's able to do that even if he's moving or doing other stuff. You see that he can talk and "I am a robot" move his arms around at the same time. And that's the idea. If you want, you can't pre-program a movement for every single costume combination, like arms up and eyes to the right, arms up and eyes to the left, arms up, eyes to the right, and mouth open. So there's if you want complex movement in anything, you're going to have to separate them into their own objects. And that means every time you move Chromie, you also have to move his eyes and move his mouth. I was looking at some of the stuff in the remix room, and some of you guys are having problems keeping the eyes and the mouth all coordinated together, and that has to do with both of them not getting the same movement commands at the same time. We can have a look at that later if you're interested. Okay, so let's make some new moves here. We usually start with the default pose because his arms are in a good position to be maneuvered. So remember, we're going to right-click inside here and select duplicate. And that will create a new version of our guy. We want to make sure everything's labeled properly. So right now he's called default 2, which I don't like. We're going to do a new series of movements here that I'm going to call kick right. So I'm going to call it kick right. And there's probably going to be a combination of moves. It's not going to be just one move. We're going to have to do a few to get this guy going. So let's zoom in on him a little bit here. I'm going to grab his leg. So remember, we're going to mostly be working with our black arrow key. We're going to be drawing loops around the part that we want to manipulate, and usually not the joints, right? I'm going to grab all of his leg here, and now I can pull it out and move it independently. I can rotate it using this little rotation handle. So I'm going to start with him back like this. I'm going to bend his leg out a little bit so that it's bent at first, and then it'll straighten out later. So that's my first move of my kick. That's looking good. Should I do anything with the arms at the same time? Yeah, let's do something with the arms at the same time. So I'll have him go with his opposite arm. Let's rotate him a little bit. Then I'm going to rotate his lower arm and bring it back so that it's touching his hip, kind of like that. There we go. So that's his first step. We'll go from default to that. That looks good. Now I can start from here and move from there to straighten his leg out. So I'm going to duplicate that again. I'll go right-click on it, duplicate. Now I'm going to grab just his lower leg. I'll straighten that out. Good. And maybe I'll take his arm and I'll move it back out again. Like so. Excellent. So now the kick is going to be a combination of these two moves, right? So it'll be from here to here to here. Okay, let's try animating that now. So we're going to go back and we're going to use the same process here. I'm going to attach it to the number 2 key so you'll be able to dance him manually or using coding commands later. So I'm going to go under my events menu. We're going to go grab that one that says when space key pressed. But I'll change it to number 2. Let's go pick number 2. And when that happens, I'm going to broadcast a message. So let's broadcast a message that says kick right. There we go. Okay. And now, what are the when he receives kick right is when he's going to actually do the movement. So let's go when I receive kick right. Let's put a sound effect in there first. Remember, we have some prefab sounds in here. One of them is called Robot Hand, I think. Oh, that one, this is the long one that has lots of different sounds, right? So there's one here called Arms Up sound that I made that's just a, yeah, that sounds cool. There's one called Default sound. There's one called Move. Yeah, so these are much shorter and they work better. I think Arms Up sound is a pretty good one. That's good for any movement that involves two different things because it goes whir, whir. So that one's a good one for this one. I'll do the Arms Up sound. So let's go to our sounds menu, start sound, arms up, and then we'll tell him to go through his 2 movements. So we'll go switch costume, we'll go to our looks menu, we'll go switch costume to kick right. Then we need a delay, so let's go back to our delays here. I'll go 0.2 seconds. And then after that, I can just duplicate by right-clicking on switch costume here, duplicate. I'll go kick right 2 as well. Okay, so now when I hit the number 2 button, this guy should be doing his little kick right thing. Let's start him at 0, the default movement. Then I'll hit button 2. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Now, I probably want the opposite movement, so let's really quickly duplicate all of this stuff and get it to do the same thing on the right-hand side. I bet. Now, I wonder if I could just flip my whole character around horizontally or whether that's going to knock everything out of alignment here. I'm very worried about his torso moving around and not being centered. Maybe that's probably not the safest thing to do. So I'm going to go back and just do it from the default again. I'll do a duplicate of him, and I'll drag it to the bottom, and I'm going to call this kick left. And we're going to, again, do it with the left-hand side. So let's just do everything we did before. We'll rotate him out. We'll rotate his lower torso. You can see once you get into the groove of this, we can make all kinds of cool poses, and it really doesn't take long at all. Every one of them can be saved as a costume, and then from there, you should be able to make all kinds of cool games and stuff. The really nice thing that I was saying about building these characters from scratch is you know they're built to have animations and stuff that work really smoothly and nicely, because some of the characters in Scratch do not animate as well. I was going to show you some examples of that last week and I didn't get around to it. After the break, I'll show you some more. Okay, so that's step 1 of his kick, and then we'll duplicate, and then we'll straighten his arm out. And we'll straighten his leg out, and then we'll be good to go here. Well, I moved his knee, but it's no big deal. We'll just bring it back here again. Okay, and now we don't have to redo all this code again. Let's do a new broadcast that's called, so let me duplicate number 2 here. I'm going to go when number 3 key is pressed. I'm going to kick left, so I need a new command for that, new message, kick left. And I'm going to take all of this code here under kick right. I'm just going to duplicate it. And let's do kick left. And then make sure those movements are kick left 1, and kick left 2. Okay, that's pretty much good to go. We can also move him to the left when he does this as well. We already have all our movements set up in these broadcasts saying broadcast move left and move right. Where are those again? Here it is. When I move left, it just moves me 10 pixels to the left if I'm not too far off. So actually, when I go move left, let's go tell him to move, actually physically move to the left when I do that as well. So we're going to go under our events, we'll go broadcast, move left. And so that'll be part of kicking right, will be kicking left will be moving left. And we'll do the same thing for kicking right. We'll go broadcast, move right. And now when he's doing this thing, he'll actually start shimmying across the screen. Let me show you what that looks like. Let's maximize. So you can see every time he does it, he moves a little bit to the right. And when I do the other one, oh, I haven't changed that costume over properly here. Let's have a look again. Kick left and kick left 2 is the other one I'm looking for. Let's try that one more time. So there's my left movement, here's my right movement. And I should be able to program him to do all those different things. And again, the number 1 movement is there. Beautiful. Okay, things are looking pretty good. It's going very smoothly here on this Tuesday morning. Let's take a little break and talk to our home audience, and I'll get right back to it. All right, we're back, guys. We got a couple of dance moves programmed. We've got him kicking left and kicking right, and we've got him raising his hands in the air and snapping his fingers, which is really cool. But I'd like to get some more. I've asked my audience on YouTube and Discord to try and maybe come up with some suggestions for what other kind of moves we can make this guy do. So anyone want to start off? What's the next thing? What kind of dance moves do you think I should be doing? Anyone want to chime in with a suggestion here? Tick-tock.
Maybe shaking his head?
Shaking his head. Well, that's not bad. The only problem with that is his eyes and his mouth. So here's what we can do. We can try making his head go up and down like he's on an extended neck. You know how robots go, and we can have him stretch up. But then we're going to have to create a new command to make the eyes and the mouth also move up at the same time. You guys up for that? Sure, so let's try that out, guys. So let's get right to it. All right, so we're going to need a new command here that applies to the eyes and the mouth that says move head up and then move head down, or just move up and move down, right? So let's go ahead and code that. We'll broadcast a new message here that says, head up. And another one that says head down. Now, hold it. His head is attached to his body. Oh, I can change that costume around. That shouldn't be difficult, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to broadcast a new message here that says head up. And when these guys receive it, and we'll do another one called head down as well. So let's just get this all set up properly first. I'll do a message called head down. And we're just going to change the Y position of the eyes and of the mouth when we do that. So I'm going to go over to my eyes. I'm going to tell it when I receive head up. We're going to change our Y coordinates on our head. So we're going to change Y by minus or positive 10 is the upward movement. And then when I receive head down, we can do another, well, actually, maybe we want to go more than 10, eh? Maybe we should go 20. I think that might look better. We want a really long head extension. Or we can do, no, let's do 10 and we'll do it twice. That sounds like a great plan. So when I receive head up, he'll move his head 10 pixels, and then he'll do it again to go down. And so let's have a look at what that looks like on the eyes. There it is, 1 up, 2 up. Whoa, and it has to be minus 10. for head down here. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and that'll get us back to normal again. So as long as I remember to do that every time I do my head moving up in the costume, then that should work perfectly. Okay, so let's do the same for the mouth. I'm just going to drag the code over to the mouth. I've shown you guys a few times how you can drag code over from one object to another just by pointing at it with your mouse cursor. So it's not moving the object, but pointing your mouse cursor while you're dragging it until it wiggles. And you guys can see the little wiggle there that's telling you that you've successfully copied it over. So now I've got my head up and my head down on my mouth as well, and I should be able to code that now. So let's go back to Chromie. We're going to go back to our costumes now. We're just going to put a pin in this heads up, head down thing until we need to do it in a second. So let's go ahead and we'll go back to the default position now. I'm going to duplicate it and drag it down to the bottom. And let's rename it to head up 1. Now, we're going to have to take his entire head and stretch it up 10 pixels. How do we do that, right? We want it to be exactly 10. Well, the only real way to do it at this point is going to be using our cursor command. So I'm going to drag my cursor around the entire head, including the antenna. And then I'm going to hit the up button with my finger here, and I'm going to hit it 10 times to go up 10 pixels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Now, my neck is too short, so let's go and extend the neck out. We could even do something cool where an extra part was added to the neck when you moved it. So I'm going to make a copy of this neck part, and I'm going to paste it down above the first one, but we're going to make it darker. Oh, I'm moving my guy at the same time, and I'll move it to the back, and we'll change its color. We'll grab its fill, and we'll make it black, I think. So it's kind of like we're exposing something underneath the existing guy. Okay, so that's my first one. And I think that should work. So the problem is we're going to have to move our eyes up at the same time that we're moving the body up. And then we're going to have to move it back down again in the same move. And we're going to have to leave enough time for that to happen. If we end it too quickly, then we'll run into problems. Okay, I'm going to make a duplicate of this heads up. Duplicate. And we're going to do one more movement of 10 up. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there's our second head up movement. Looks like it's a little bit off here. I'm just going to move it 1 pixel to the right. So that's pretty well the only way to move stuff precisely is using your cursor keys like that. So there's head up 2. So let's go ahead and code that now. We'll go code that for the number 4. So when I press button number 4, let's save my file right now. So when I press button number 4, we're going to broadcast that message that says head up, which is going to, so let's switch costumes first. We'll go to our costumes. We'll go looks, and we'll go switch costume to head up 1. Then we'll broadcast head up. Then we'll need a delay again. So let's put a delay of 0.2 seconds there. So now I want to duplicate all 3 of those movements because I want my head to go up again. So I'm going to move my cursor over the switch costume. I'm going to duplicate. There we go. And I'll make sure this one says head up 2. And it's going to move his eyes and his mouth up 10 more. At the end of it, we need it to come back down again. So after that delay, we'll switch back to costume 1. So I'm going to move my cursor over the second block here. I'll go duplicate. I'll copy those last 3 blocks. Now I'm going to go back to head up 1. And at the end of that, I can go back to default. So I don't even have to set up any other commands for that. I can just tell it switch costume to default. Switch costume to default. Now, let's see if this works. So that's attached to button 4 here. Hold it. So I want this all to be programmable. So I'm actually going to go, I can't use the head up or head down command here, because, oh, and I have to change this broadcast to head down. So it has to head down twice before I get to my default, right? So let's wait and go head down again. And then wait again. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get this straightened out of my own head. When you're doing this stuff spontaneously like this, sometimes you got to really think on your feet, right? So we can test this out now by pressing the number 4. Let's move our guy back to the middle here. Whoops. And it looks like my mouth is already out of alignment. Let's try hitting the 4 button and see what happens. Let's have him go back to default. There we go. There's our default position, or 0. All right, so now we'll try head up, and let's see whether it works. That's cool, except the timing's a little bit off here. We also need a sound effect here, eh? So let's add a sound effect. Oh, not play sound till done. We'll need to start sound. Here's start sound. Row arms up sound will probably work fine here. So something is not coordinated here properly. He's switching his costume and his head is going up at the same time, eh? Maybe if we switch the order of these, let's try that out. So back to default. That seems better, yeah. When the broadcast happens before the movement, it seems to work better. So I'm going to rearrange this again a little bit. We'll just make sure the broadcast happens before the costume switch. And that's a little tricky, guys. I'm going to save my file in a second in case you don't want to do this yourself. And so how is this working? Yes, that last movement down that's not right, right? Broadcast head down and switch costume to head up. Let's move the costume right here before the delay. Hey! That's working good now. All right. That's actually really cool, isn't it? All right, let me save my file in case any of you guys are stuck at home. So now we've got a couple of different movements to go here. We've got the kick, another one, head up, which is really awesome. We could do the same thing with the body down, like have him bend his knees or have his legs shorten. I think it's a little bit too much coding for what we're doing here right now, but I think you guys get the idea. So anytime you do anything that changes the body height, that moves it on the y-axis, you have to make sure that the eyes and the mouth also end up going up and down to match what happens to the body. And so that gets a little bit trickier. Mostly we're going to be doing left and right movements here, which seem to work a lot more smoothly. So I can slide left and right, and I can do these other movements here like this. This is looking really funky now. So the nice thing about this, and we haven't done it properly here, but is we can program all these movements. So we don't want this attached to a keyboard command, so we're going to have to create a new broadcast for this. Let's go broadcast. And under this number 4, we'll go broadcast head. I am a robot. Space bar there. I'll go move head up, not to be confused with head up, which is its own little command inside that, right? So we're going to go broadcast move head up, and when I receive move head up, he's going to do all of this stuff. Okay, beautiful. So let's do just one more cool dance move, and then we can start adding some music to this. So looking for some more nominations from the audience. Anyone else have any suggestions of what they'd like our guy to do?
Chris was saying that maybe the robot could do a boogie or the floss.
So first of all, you have to help me. So what would a boogie look like?
I'm not quite sure, actually. I asked Chris, but maybe like...
Sorry.
Not quite sure.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on what a boogie would look like? Looks like Chris has deafened himself too. I don't think he can really even hear us. I'm not sure why he turned his microphone off. All right, anyone else know? So a boogie's, I mean, I could Google it, I guess, but I'm trying to remember what a boogie looks like exactly. No one has any ideas here. Do you want us to go look? All right, that's it. I'm going to YouTube. So what is a boogie? Boogie.
move the arm up and then move it down again, and same with the leg.
Oh, so the arm and the leg moving up opposite to each other? Or,
Yeah, yeah, in a
yeah.
diagonal.
Okay, so the right arm up and the left arm up, and then the left arm up and the right arm up. Is that what you're talking about, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I'm not finding it online here. Okay, that's easy enough to do. So, and we will even call it a boogie then. Sounds good. So we'll do that one last move, and then we'll be ready to start animating this to music. So let's attach the, actually, let's do the boogie all as one big long dance move, right? So I'm going to go when I press key number 5. We'll tell him to do a boogie. So we'll go to our events. We'll go broadcast. A new message, and we'll call it boogie. I think this is going to need an exclamation mark. Boogie, exclamation mark. Okay. And now we need at least 4 different costumes, right? So let's go ahead and get these costumes set up. We'll go to our costumes menu. We'll start with our default. I'm going to duplicate him. We usually start with the default. Sometimes we can use combinations of existing moves here, though, right? There's probably some, there's one here called Arms Up, for example, that has his arms up. But let's just make this guy from scratch. So we'll call this one Boogie. Yes, Abby?
In Discord, I can just see your lessons page.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's the
I
same
will
with
start
me.
rebroadcasting that. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Every once in a while, it goes a little crazy like that. Go live, change to robot. All right, you guys should be good to go again. Let me maximize my screen.
Now I can see that.
Now you're good?
Yes.
Okay, good, Abby. Excellent. Okay, so we're gonna have him move his arm up. If I remember correctly, maybe he needs to have his hand on his hip in the opposite way when he's moving. Let's start with the left hand and the right foot. So we'll go and rotate him out this way. We'll have him stick his arm out first. And we'll do the same thing with the kicking motion that we did before as well. So I'll move his leg out a little bit and then kick it back in again. And this kind of where we were going with this. Let me know if I'm doing something wrong here, Chris, because I'm not a boogie expert. And then we're going to, let's duplicate this again. And we'll have him moving right up now, right? So we'll have him go straight up. And we'll rotate this maybe. That's looking about like, oh, maybe a little bit more curve on it like this. All right, and we'll straighten this leg out. Okay, Chris, is this kind of what you're talking about? I think Chris is watching us on YouTube, so he's got a 1-minute lag here. I'm going to assume this is what he wants here, and then we'll just do the opposite on the other side. Let me save my file here. All right, so I'm going to go back to my boogie. Actually, I'll go back to my default position. So this is our last dance move. Once we're done this, I think we'll just add some music and then we'll be good to go here. I think you guys have probably had enough of this posing. You definitely are getting the idea of how to go about posing this guy, right? I'm really just trying to get drilled into your heads here, the idea of how to make your guy do whatever it is you want. So let's move his arm up into an intermediate position here, like this. Maybe I'm going to have this guy also putting his hand on his hip for this one on the left here, just to show that we can do it in 2 different ways. I'll have him rotate back like this again. Beautiful. And he's kicking out with his left leg, so we'll rotate that just a little bit here. Ah! There we go, like that. And then we'll bend it a bit. Okay, this stuff is painstaking, guys, but I really think the end results are really cool. Okay, so that's the intermediate. So this is Boogie 3. Make sure everything's named properly because you're going to want to go back to it again later, right? So we'll call this Boogie 3. And then I will duplicate one last time with a Boogie 4. And that one will, let's back out again. We'll have him put his arms in the air. Maybe have him close his fingers up. We'll have him stick this arm out. It's wild dance moves, so it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And then this leg will be stuck out too. Nice. Okay, so now let's put it all together here. We're going to need a couple of different moves to make this happen. So back to my robot. We'll program him. So where's all my, here's my when key 5 pressed. I'll broadcast boogie. So when I receive boogie, let's tell him to go in through all these motions. So I'm going to go to my looks blocks. I'll grab switch costume to boogie 1. I want a sound effect in there too. I'm just going to keep using that that same sound effect because it works really nicely and it has 2 different movements in it. So we're going to go start sound, arms up sound, and we'll have him go do it for 2 different motions, and then we'll start the sound again when he boogies in the other direction. So we'll go switch costume to boogie. We'll wait 0.2 seconds. And then we will switch to the next boogie position, boogie 2. Then we'll play the sound one more time. So I'm actually going to duplicate everything below the boogie here, just to save us some time. And we'll play that sound again. Then we'll go boogie 3, and finally boogie 4. So let's see what this looks like. Let's get back to our default position. We'll go 0 to get into default. Okay, and I believe it's button 5 to make him boogie, so let's try that out. That's cool. Let's try that one more time. Hey, that's actually a really cool dance move. Nice suggestion, Chris. I thought that worked really nicely. Okay, so we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to put this all to some music, and we'll be wrapping up our lesson with a little bit of a rock fest. So rock on, dudes. All right, so we have a bunch of random dance moves in here. We've got a boogie and move a lot of complicated arm and leg movements and stuff, which should be really cool. We took the trouble to program them all as events, so now we can actually put them all together into one file and just click the green flag and make it happen. So I was telling my audience at home, I'm challenging them to do a little dance-off. Tomorrow we're going to have a little dance-off session on our live stream where everyone will program their robots, and we'll see who has the sickest dance moves for the robot. So I'm really excited to do that. All right, guys. So let's go add some music. I've already gotten a few music tracks to get us started. There's one here called a dubstep. You can load this up if you want to, or really any dance music you want. Here's what the dubstep sounds like. I like to have a nice program the movements to go according to that. There's one here called trap beat that's just about the same speed. Let me show you that one. So we're looking for something with a nice steady beat in it that we can try and coordinate our movements with. I'm hoping we've got delays that I think should work out fairly well for this thing doing some dancing. So let's give it a try. I don't think anything's happening when we click the green flag right now. It's just, where's my green flag? Here it is. All it's doing is accepting keyboard inputs. So we're not going to bother with that. You can still always make your guy move left or right while he's doing dance moves. There's nothing that should be stopping you from doing that. Right here. Let's get back to it. All right. So I'm looking around, and it looks like everything's good to go to start moving our robots now. So let's go ahead and add a new green flag here when green flag clicked. And now we can just start adding a bunch of broadcasts here. We've got a bunch of broadcasts here that go arms up, kick left, move down, move head up, move down, and all the different things that we need in here. So let's go. We'll start with a music track. So let's go to our sounds. We'll go start sound trap beat, and we'll tell our guy to do a movement here. Now, it's going to be the delays that really tell us whether this is working properly or not. Let's start with an arms up, and then an arms down for go back to default. So let's go back to default pose, and then we'll try a boogie move or something. So let's go broadcast. Stop you. And here's my boogie. There we go. So now he should bring his arms up, bring them down, and then do a little boogie for us, hopefully in time with the music. Let's click the green flag and see what this looks like. That's good. Maybe let's add a second boogie there. Lateral movement there. We already have commands to make him move left or move right, so let's have him do a few of those as well. So we're going to go broadcast some more messages. Let's have him do a couple of, I'm just going to randomly throw some move lefts and move rights in there. Broadcast, move left again, and then at the end maybe we'll have him move right. So you can always add a bunch of moves in here while he's doing other stuff. We haven't had him move his head up either. Let's have him do that. We'll broadcast head up and have him wait a second and then move his head back down again. So we'll go events, broadcast, head down, broadcast. Where is, oh, the move, actually the move head, I don't want head up here, I want move head up, which should have him move his head up and down again. Yeah, that's the one we want to use. We don't want to get that confused with the other one, right? That just moves his head up in relation to his eyes. Okay, let's try this again. And we'll also get a second audio track going here. So let's go to our sound. We'll go start sound, and we've got the trap beat going here, so let's get some dubstep going. And we can just do a bunch more random commands here. So let's get them to broadcast. What haven't we done yet? Kick right, another delay. Always got to give him time to do his movements. And then we'll go broadcast kick left. And it looks like it's maybe one more move in here. So let's go into our events. We'll broadcast a arms up to end this. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Alright, I'm going to save my file again. So you guys get the idea. It's looking really cool. I think we need some kind of a disco light effect or something on here as well that will add a little bit of motion to it. And so I'm going to show you guys one last thing before we go here. And it looks like it's 11 o'clock, so we're going to be losing people in a second. But while we're here, I'm just going to get one more thing going. I'm going to go create a new sprite. So I'm going to go paint. And whoa, it looks like they've changed the painting interface around a little bit. There's a bit of this is a new development in Scratch. They've added a pasteboard on the side, an area that you can move stuff off to. This is something that's been suggested for a long time. It looks like they just added it over the weekend. That's really exciting. And what I think that means is you'll be able to actually take people and move them off the stage onto the side. And that's something we haven't been able to do in Scratch until now. So I'm actually really excited about that. If I can like draw a box here or something, for example, you can, let's fill it up with a color. So up until now, you've only been able to move stuff like halfway off the screen like this, but it looks like we can actually move it all the way off the visible part of the screen now. This is a brand new thing in Scratch. I just haven't noticed it before. Okay. Anyway, what I was going to show you guys quickly is let's make a little cone of light that we can rotate around here. So I'm just going to grab a big...
I have to go.
Okay, well, we'll see you around, Abby. It was nice to have you here. No pressure.
I wanted to tell you that yesterday I forgot that there was no class, so I just made a game of chess.
Oh,
well, I was starting with a game
well,
of chess.
share that with us, buddy, and we'll show it on this.
I haven't completely made it done, but I shared in the student showcase.
Oh, very cool, very cool. Okay, I will show it tomorrow, buddy. See you around anyway.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so I've just started drawing a light cone here. I'm going to do like a little spotlight effect. I don't want an outline on it, so let's remove the outline here. There we go. Now we've got a nice yellow thing. I want it to rotate around the central point, so I'm going to move it here. Let's do a little save. So I want it to rotate around this point here. So when I tell anything to rotate, it's always going to rotate around that central point. So we're going to use some rotation commands to make that move around properly. Now we can pop it into the corner, and we'll use a coding command to, well, let's bump up its size a little bit. Let's go 150%. And we're going to make it ghost a little bit. So we're going to go when green flag clicked. We're going to go to our looks menu. We'll go set ghost effect. Let's try 50. There we go. We've got this nice little spotlight here. And now we can move our spotlight around using a rotation command. So let me show you. We're going to use like these turn 15-degree buttons. We'll make them turn maybe 2 degrees at a time. And we'll have it go through some loops. We'll have it move once in one direction. So we're going to go repeat 20 times in one direction. Whoops, uh-oh, I just deleted that by accident. No, can't restore it. So let's go repeat 20 times. Keep hitting the wrong key here. And we'll go turn 2 degrees. And then we'll repeat again for 20 times and have it turn the opposite direction, 2 degrees. And we can put that into a forever loop so that for the entirety of the game here, it's just doing that. Now I want to make sure it's in the right starting position. So let's rotate it around until it's kind of in the middle here. I'm just going to hit the rotate button a couple of times, or I can actually spin it using this directional command. So that looks like a good place to start. Just make sure this is looking good. Okay, let's click the green flag and see what that looks like. Okay, that looks kind of cool, right? I am a robot. So we can do that twice. Let me duplicate that, and I will move the guy in the other direction. Let's rotate the second guy around so that he's facing in the opposite direction. We'll move him up to the top left corner of the screen. Let me save my file here. And let's change the color on the second one. So I'm going to go into my costumes, and I will change it to a red light by filling up that cone with red. All right, let's try that now. Hey, looking cool. I might want those spotlights to move in a bigger direction. Let's have it move 30 times instead of 20. I think that's looking really cool. Anyway, so there we go. So we got a little dance thing going here. I'd love to see what you guys can come up with. So please feel free, guys, to do your own remixes. Leave them in the remix room. Remember, you can go to my page at chromeworks.ca/lessons, and you'll see a link there to the remix room where you can save these files and share them with everyone. So tomorrow we will have a dance-off, and we will declare a winner. Whose robot will be the best dancer? It's up to you guys to decide. So get out there and make some dance moves for us. Thanks a lot. This has been a lot of fun, guys, and I will see you tomorrow for UFOs. Really cool.